Daniel asks, Nabeel, what was the strongest argument against Islam you heard during the time you were a Muslim?
That's pretty easy for me. When I found out the textual history of the Quran, that was a total game changer. I'd been told my whole life that the reason why we can trust Islam, primarily, I mean, there's all kinds of reasons that were given, but primarily it's the Quran. All other religions' books have been corrupted. The Quran has been perfectly preserved, right down to every single letter, every single vowel sound, everything. That's just a hilarious claim because, number one, the vowel sounds weren't even in the original Quranic manuscripts. Number two, 2,000 alifs were added to the text. Number three, the earliest Muslims didn't agree. Even the ones that Muhammad handpicked to teach the Quran didn't agree as to what was the Quran. So you had canonical disagreements. Abdullah ibn Masud said there were supposed to be 111 chapters. Ubay ibn Ka'b says 116 chapters. Zayd ibn Thabit, who wasn't even one of the four chosen by Muhammad, chose 114 chapters, and a bunch of people disagreed with him. You have early Muslim textual critics who just recorded the differences in different people's Qurans. There were tons of them. If you look at Kitab al-Masahif, which is by Ibn Abi Dawud, the son of the great hadith collector, the one who collected Sunan Abu Dawud, he has over 200 differences between Ibn Masud's Quran and Ubay ibn Ka'b's Quran on just one chapter. On
Surah 2, right?
Surah al-Baqarah, yeah. There's 200 differences between just two people's Qurans. So they don't know what chapters go. There's different words involved. And we know exactly what happened with the textual history of the Quran. It kept getting intentionally modified and edited and standardized. So what did that look like? If you look at the earliest manuscripts, you see people having edited portions in order to make it match what ultimately became later canonical. It was not until somewhere between 1923 and 1925 that you have one printed edition of the Quran that begins to gain a hegemony over the other Qurans, over the other 80 versions that were still being read at the beginning of the 20th century. Today you can find 5 different Qurans that are commonly recited. The number one most common, of course, is the one you'll find almost everywhere. It's called Hafs an Asim. It's the Hafs reading of the Quran as read by Asim. But you also have another common one, Warsh an Nafi, which has different words, literally different words with different meanings. Now, does it change the whole meaning of the Quran? No, these modern differences don't change the whole meaning of the Quran, but they're not perfectly preserved down to the letter, which is the common claim. So there's no way this common claim that the Quran has been perfectly preserved down to the letter, it's always been the same. It holds no water whatsoever, and yet it is the bastion of Islamic confidence for most apologists. When I found all this out, I realized I had been misled my whole life. So I think as this information gets out to the next generation, it's going to be much more difficult for Muslims to maintain the confidence they have in the Quran.
And if you'd like a variety of sources where different Muslim sources talk about these kinds of changes in the history of the text of the Quran, click on this video.